All right, I'm feeling good right now. We're good.
All right, let's do it.
All right, we're going to do a little Seeking Wisdom today. We haven't talked about books in a while.
Damn, bringing it back to my favorite.
Yeah. And so, all right, we came up with this topic, and we're each going to share the 3 books that have had the biggest impact on us. But we just spent it took me 2 minutes. It took this guy like an hour. He was going through thousands of books.
No way. Gave me 5 minutes. This guy comes in, Dave, and gives me 5 minutes to pick the 3 books that have had the most impact on my life.
Yeah, it's easy for me. I've read like 6 books, so I just picked half of them, and then
so I had to go through like thousands of books in 5 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We'll go back and forth, and we'll talk about our 3. Since you're the wiser one here. Give what's the first? Yeah, what's the first one?
Going to throw you for a loop.
Okay, hit me.
Dave's not expecting
I'm not
this.
ready.
He probably has not read this. So, again, these are didn't have enough time to really come up with the 3 best books. These are the 3 books that I'm thinking about right now for whatever reason that have had an impact on me.
Okay.
The first book that I want to talk about is called Walden.
Uh-oh.
It's by Henry David Thoreau. And
so far out of my league.
Dave's eyes just roll backwards in his head, and he's like, "What is going on?" So I'm going to give you a couple of quotes. That's what I was looking up. That's why from the book.
Sure.
The first is, and this is from Henry David Thoreau: "Our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify, simplify."
Damn. What made you think of this book now for this?
This time of year. So we're coming into fall here.
Yeah.
And so basically his writings about on Walden Pond made me think about this time. And fall in New England is that time that is awesome and kind of like a little bit of melancholy.
Why is simplify such an important message, though?
It's something that we talk about all the time, right? It's the thing that we kind of repeat here all the time, and we think about every single day of like simplify, 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 and even when you think you've simplified, you probably haven't simplified enough.
Yeah. All right.
His next quote from the same book is a great one. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. This is where you should be. Now put the foundations under them.
Damn. Translate that.
So translate that. So like we talk about big dreams and big things that we want to do. And so it is not wrong to think of those dreams, but now we need to think about how we build the foundations to make those dreams a reality.
Or it's the same reason why we set goals that when we write them down are like, they're crazy.
Holy
and
shit.
then you double them. So they're crazy.
They're crazy. And then I double them.
But they push our team to do more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then it forces us to figure out how to build the foundations underneath it.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to look like I got coloring books compared to your
Tell
list.
us about your Elmo book.
All right. So the first book, this is a very popular book, but it had a big impact on me because I was just started to get into working at tech companies. And it was,
what was it?
Actually the Steve Jobs biography, which is
that's a good one.
It's a very
on my
good
list.
One. Yeah. It's on your list. Of your 3?
No.
Oh, of your 1,000. Okay.
Of my 1,000.
He just showed. You can't see because it's a podcast, but he just showed me his thousands of books on Goodreads. So yeah, thank you.
It's on my top list.
Yeah. No, but this. Okay, so this one I just happened to read it. You know, like we always talk about stages and you know when you're thinking about things. This one was like earlier in my career. Just started working. You know, in tech and stuff, and I just thought it was crazy to see like the behind the scenes process of building a company. And the thing that stood out was I was at a public company at the time, and there was just a lot of stuff about, you know, managing expectations and how he managed Wall Street, which he didn't give a shit at all about, you know, stock price. And he had a lot of the same philosophies that we've talked about a bunch on the podcast, and Bill Walsh, and like, you know, he's like, if we take care of all the little details inside the company,
they'll take care of themselves.
The stock price is going to take care of itself. And so he never, you know, big theme was like never basing a product launch around like an earnings call, right? It's like, we're going to deliver this when we think it's ready. So that was a good one.
So how do you think that has shaped the way that you work? Like, is what you read in there what you live today?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it's necessarily like shaped my day to day, but I think at the time it just unlocked like a level of like, okay, there is a way that people think about this differently, and there's a reason why this company has been so successful, and it ties back to the whole, managing for customers, not internal goals or benchmarks. Yeah. All right, what do you got? Number two.
Right. This one's no surprise. It is one that we've touched on lightly, but you think about every day. It's called Seeking Wisdom, From Darwin to Munger.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the book that I was so obsessed about that
inspired the name, right?
Inspired the name for this podcast,
cool.
right? And it's a book by Peter Bevelin. If you haven't read it or have it, you must purchase it now and read it. It's a long read. It's not really like, it's kind of sections, different teachings in it that you read over time. It's more a book that you pick up, read a little bit, put it down, and then keep picking up throughout your life.
A good coffee table book?
Great coffee table book, right? So this is a book to own. And Peter starts the book with a Confucius quote, and the quote is, "A man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake."
That could be our description for this podcast.
Yeah, that's the very description for this podcast and everything that we write about and think about. And of course, the book goes into, and I found the book originally because of Charlie Munger, someone that we talk about a lot on this podcast, and goes into a lot of his teachings, but also others that you can learn from. So that's a great kind of coffee table book that you need to own. And Dave doesn't have it yet, but he needs to get it. I can tell he doesn't have it.
He does. He does not have it. All right, my second one. Read this last year for the first time. Short one, 30 pages. Managing Oneself.
Oh, okay. That's a great one.
Peter Drucker. It's a little orange book. We've talked about it on this podcast a bunch.
Why do you like it?
This one unlocked like the biggest thing for me. So there's a bunch of different lessons. It's all about managing yourself. You can't really be effective as a manager until you know how to manage yourself.
Yes.
But for me, there was one line which was worth, I don't know, the book was $2.99, so it doesn't matter. He talks about, spend more time focusing on your strengths than worrying about trying to, make up for the things that you're not great at. So here's I'll use my personal example, right? For me, that could be, writing, creating content, email, copywriting, right? So I used to think that there was like this trend in marketing where like, you need to be able to do everything in marketing. You need to be a master of analytics, a master of SEO, CRO, optimization, and everything. And if you do that, this book makes it like, focus more. It's harder for you to go from having no skill in an area to being mediocre. Than it is from like focusing on what you're good at and trying to be great.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. Such a great book. That's why it's a book that we recommend internally here at Drift and we give to people.
And it even ties back to simplify, right? Like out of all the things you can work on, stick to this one thing.
Exactly. Simplify, simplify, simplify.
Right. What do you got?
I have a book here that, unlike my first two, probably won't stand the test of time because it's very current. But it's a super exciting book, and it's actually a book. We had some friends come up this weekend from New York, and old friends, and we were talking about something, and I went into my library and I gave my copy of this book as a gift to my friend of ours, and it's a book called Bold, B-O-L-D, and it's written by Peter Diamandis, and basically the subtitle is called How to Go Big, Create Wealth, and Impact the World.
Why isn't it going to last?
Because it's talking about current trends, right? And this is a super exciting book you should pick up, easy read. And Peter is like the founder of the X Prize. He's like, a doctor, a PhD, a astrophysicist. He's like an amazing person. But beyond all that, if you've never seen him speak, he has this ability to take all that really complicated stuff that we don't understand and break it down and simplify it. And he's also the creator of Singularity University, where he teaches people. And so this book, Bold, really talks about these trends and these are the kind of trends that we think about at Drift that we're trying to build upon. Like we talk a lot about the trends of messaging, right? And that's something that he goes into. He talks about crowdfunding. He talks about all of the different things that are happening in AI and manufacturing and these trends that we need to kind of capture these trends, and these are going to be the things that propel us into the future. So it's all about, if you wanted to think about like radical ideas and moonshot kind of projects, pick up this copy of Bold by Peter Diamandis. Amazing speaker.
Also, don't like be in the car right now trying to write down all these books. I'll put them all in the show notes. All right.
Yeah.
Last one for me is a book called Ogilvy on Advertising.
Woo!
This one is on my list because you got me to go back and study all of the classics. And
was it worthwhile?
It's all I've been reading.
History.
So I just started like the 7th book I've read about copywriting and marketing.
Yeah.
And those books have like taught me more about marketing than anything else. And this was the one that kicked it off. And what was so cool about reading this book was, damn, these were all lessons from like 1940, 1950.
Yep.
And they couldn't apply. They are so relevant to all the stuff that we're doing today.
Yeah.
And that was like the best lesson is, this is books from 1950 and everything here is still relevant.
What's interesting, aside from the last book that I mentioned, Bold, like all of the books that we've touched upon are books that talk about history, right? And the importance of learning lessons from things that have happened and repeated in history.
Yeah. Damn, I had something else I was going to say, but so that's our book list. So we'll write up these 6 books for you. And I think we're going to do some more. We'll do some more book reviews. But here's the call to action for this show.
What's that? Hit me.
Yeah, tweet at us at Drift and tell us, like, give us a glimpse. It doesn't have to be 3. What books have had the biggest impact on you?
Oh man, I can't. I'm looking forward to seeing this.
Yeah, we've been getting a lot more good stuff. Like people saying like, "Oh, I read this book. It's awesome." Or
I want to put some stuff on my book list. I need some stuff. What are you reading right now, Dave? Put you on the spot.
I'm reading The Copywriter's Handbook.
Wow, that's deep.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna read it at first because it seemed like it was like one of those like kind of like encyclopedia type books, like not a real book. But it's
good.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so relevant. I keep taking notes because you know me. I make lists. What do you got?
A couple, I think.
A couple.
Here are the ones that I'm listening to.
I'm glad you can remember. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I won't go into the ones that I'm reading physically, but I'm going to go into the ones that I.
Wait. First of all, why decide? Like we've talked about this before, but why did you decide to listen to this one versus get it and read it?
Some of these because they're just like entertainment, and so I want to qualify them.
Cool.
And others that are more. I like reading some of these, listening to some of these biographies because they're usually longer, and I can listen to them in parts. And so, I did read a really good book, current book, fun book, I should say, called Running Man. I finished that last week, I believe, and it's the story of a guy who goes through addiction and then comes out and basically is obsessed with running. So it's a guy who's been running through the Sahara, running ultras, which are like 100-plus mile races. And so awesome. That was actually a pretty interesting book just about athletics.
Yep.
And then what I'm reading all at once here, these are all at the same time, is Grant Cardone's new book called Be Obsessed or Be Average. And I know
that's your guy.
That's my guy, Uncle G. What's up? It's Uncle DC.
Yep.
And a lot of you are going to hate on Grant Cardone, but I think he has a good message underneath everything, and he makes me laugh. Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. Wow, what a book.
Yeah.
Read that 3 times.
We'll do one on that.
We'll do a book review on that. I'm reading Titan, which is the story of John D. Rockefeller. Great book. Competing Against Luck, which is a new book by Clayton Christensen. And 2 more. Even This I Get to Experience, which is a biography by Norman Lear, who's, if you don't know him, he did like All in the Family and a lot of shows, I should say, in the 70s. And last one is The Great Bridge, which is the telling of the building of the Brooklyn Bridge by David McCullough.
Damn, all over the map.
Yeah, okay. All over the map. And I'm reading a bunch more, which I won't get into. I'm actually reading Freud right now, which is amazing.
This is that list of books is exactly what we talked about. We did a podcast on like how to come up with better ideas.
Yeah.
That's your secret.
That's massive
6
idea
books
right there.
all across the map.
Yeah, building bridges, building oil companies, selling. All over the
one
map.
Random side note, since you mentioned Grant Cardone, when the whole Pokemon thing came out over the summer, he had a great email.
What was that?
Emailed his list and he said, I think the subject line was like, "Are you the founder of Pokemon?"
Yeah.
And it was like, "Good, then get back to work." Good, then get back to work.
I love that. I sent that email to everyone in the team.
So.
He said, Pokemon broke. Pokemon
right,
broke.
We're out of here.
Pokemon is what
that's six books for you. Put them all in the show notes.
Don't forget 5-star ratings. We're blowing up. I keep sending Dave these emails showing us all these 5-star ratings.
Keep learning from a guy who never used to read. It works.
All right. You heard the man.
All right.
See ya.
See ya.